What is up, guys? Welcome back. My name is Charles, owner of MX Revival and MXRevival.com, and today is a very, very great day for all SSR Motorsports SR300 owners. I have some all-new, exclusive, never-before-seen SR300 prototype parts that I'm going to share with you guys today, specifically our fuel tank block-off plate. This prototype part is going to enable all of us to finally run the oversized Honda fuel tank on our SR300s. This video is also going to apply to everybody who has this same bike but may have been branded under a different label or name. Off the top of my head, there's the Trailmaster, there's EGL, there's a bunch of different ones. It's VR in Indonesia, pretty sure MXF in Brazil. Basically, if your bike is a clone of a 2016 Honda CRF450R, then this video applies specifically to you. And there are certainly others, I just can't name them all. So check this out, guys. Today we're going to finally do a wet test on our all-new fuel pump block-off plate. After today's video, if we conclude that everything bolts up properly, is leak-free, then this will be available for pre-order only on MXRevival.com, another exclusive part for the SSR Motorsports brands. So I'm really stoked about this. And real quick, before we jump into the install today, I want to give you a little bit of background just in case you missed the first video. So if you're new, welcome. Last video, I introduced this big tank mod and what my intent was with the project. If you're wondering what the significance of the fuel tank block-off plate is, well, these oversized tanks were only available for the CRF450R, the actual Honda, and those bikes were fuel injected. And being so, there's a big fuel injection pump that normally goes in here. Now with our Chinese dirt bikes, the SR300 clone, it is a carbureted bike and therefore uses a petcock or a fuel valve. And so obviously this isn't gonna work. And so to kick this entire thing off, I sent this tank off to my buddy Matt, the mad scientist. He took a 3D scan of this tank, he took a 3D scan of the petcock, and he developed the first prototype 3D printed part. And this is how you get parts out of your head and into reality. Some of you guys may remember the first video where I showed this block-off plate Matt made. He even built this really cool fuel ramp that ensures every drop of fuel can get down into the fuel valve when this thing is all bolted up. And so once we got the 3D printed part back from Matt, we were able to test fit it on the tank, make sure everything bolted up, make sure everything worked, and that's where my buddy Tom at ZRT comes into play. Once we knew the 3D printed part fit the tank properly, we're able to take that file created by Matt, send it over to Tom at ZRT, and then Tom is able to take that and CNC cut something out of actual aluminum. This is when stuff really starts to come to life. This is really, really cool, and this is how you rapid prototype things nowadays. You usually start with an idea, see if you can find somebody to 3D print it, test fit it, and then you send that file over to your favorite manufacturing guy. And so here we are. Now I get to share this with you guys on YouTube. This is really awesome. And so having said all that, I'm going to leave contact information in the video description below for both of these guys, because you guys might have an idea that you want to bring into fruition, and this would be how you do it. And while not every idea is a good idea, I know these two guys have been more than willing to help me, and I really appreciate the both of you. So thank you very much. Now what's special about this block-off plate is that not only is it going to block off the Honda fuel tank so we can put a big fat oversized tank on the 300, but it's also going to accept the stock SR300 fuel valve or petcock that's already on your bike. I wanted to make sure this was one thing you could reuse, one less part to buy. And so thanks to JR at SSR Motorsports, I was able to acquire one of these. As you can see, there are a lot of great people that help me do what I do. And so now, guys, we're gonna go ahead and bolt this sucker together. I'm gonna show you all the parts and pieces you're gonna need if you should so decide to order one. And then we're gonna slap this thing on the bike and make sure it doesn't leak. We're gonna do some wheelies up and down the street, try and shake some fuel out of it, see what happens. This just kicks ass. All right, guys, here we are on the bench. And as you can see, our block-off plate is an absolute work of art. You can see the fuel ramp came out so freaking good. Here's the 3D printed part. This is the prototype. There are a few differences. You guys can see these two bumps here. These are for the two tapped threaded M6 hardware holes on the bottom, and that would be really difficult for the CNC machine to do. It's possible, but it's extra work, it's more dimensions, and so we went ahead and just raised this center plate just a little bit to alleviate that issue. That also gives us plenty of meat around these threaded holes here. And so here are the parts you're going to actually receive in your fuel pump block-off plate kit. You're of course going to receive the fuel pump block-off plate itself. There are two Honda O-rings. I'm going to include these in the kit. One of them goes onto the base of the block-off plate, and then one of them fits inside a recess in the bottom of the tank here. So one of them is going to be right on this 45 lip. The other one is going to be in a recess around the edge here. So with these dual O-rings, I do not see this thing leaking whatsoever. Also included is going to be 6 M6 by 1 inch hardware with a flanged head. These are going to hold the fuel pump block-off plate against the tank itself and really seat those O-rings. And so those are the only items you're actually going to need. The rest of the items you'll be able to reuse. This is a stock SR300 fuel valve or petcock. As you can see, it has a regular on and reserve. And when you insert this sucker into the block-off plate, check that out. Isn't that awesome? Matt did such a good job with that fuel ramp, and of course, Tom bringing the part to life. It just looks killer. At any rate, you guys will be able to reuse your stock fuel valve and your stock 2 bolts that hold it onto your plastic tank. And so to recap, you guys are gonna get the block-off plate, the 2 OEM Honda O-rings, and then 6 M6 by 1 inch flanged head bolts to hold all this stuff to the tank. Now, if you need the actual tank, this is a Chirby's tank. It's very, very nice. One of our good friends with an SR300 purchased this and sent it to me so I could make this part happen. You guys will still need a tank. You guys can find these on RockyMountainATVMC.com. You can get a brand new one. This one actually came from eBay. It was also brand new, but you may find a used one and save some coin. Not always the worst idea when you're gonna be smashing your dirt bike into the ground. And so having said all that, guys, it is time to install these parts. So I'm gonna start out with a little bit of waterproof grease. I wanna slick up these O-rings just for good measure. Probably doesn't need it, but it never hurts to throw on a little bit of this grease. It helps everything slide into place. And of course, a little bit of waterproof grease is going to help with sealing. So we got the first O-ring seated on the block-off plate. The second O-ring, as I mentioned, is going to go into the bottom of the tank here. Get that sucker slicked up as well. The grease is also going to help hold this O-ring in place. You're going to want to make sure that the area that holds the fuel valve or petcock is facing out to the left, basically the left side of your bike, like so. Now I'm looking down to make sure all the O-rings are where they belong, and they are. So plate is installed. Go ahead and start all 6 of these bolts. Now the centers and the fitment on all this hardware is dead nuts. Absolutely laser accuracy. Such a beautiful part. Go ahead and just give these a little love. I'm not tightening them down all the way yet. I know it's an impact gun. It sounds a little violent, but it's not. Follow back and tighten everything up in a star pattern, just like you were putting a wheel back on a car, corner to corner. I like to follow back when I've done that and spin everything to a snug in a circle. All right, now everything is seated nicely, not over tightening. A good snug, a good hand snug. Don't go crazy, they're just brass inserts. And your fuel valve, it's gonna have an O-ring on the bottom of it already, so no need to do anything special there. I am gonna throw a little bit of grease on this as well. Doesn't hurt. We're gonna go ahead and install the fuel valve again with it facing outwards towards the left. You could spin it around if you wanted. Would be no harm in that. But this thing is pretty well shrouded by the bike. If you were to crash, some guys like to spin them around to face towards the inside of the bike. But this thing, like I said, is super protected. If you go down, nothing's ever gonna hit it or break it. Again, the fit is absolutely perfect. We'll go ahead and snug these down. Man, this looks so freaking good. So factory. And there you have it. Parts that never used to exist come to life, and it looks so stinking good. Guys, it's time to strap on the GoPro and slap this sucker onto my SR300 and do our wet test. All right, guys, real quick, I've got both tanks up on the bench. We have the stock SR300 tank, our oversized tank with our new block-off plate. I figured it'd be fun to just weigh both of these real quick and see what kind of weight is being added to your bike. Now, to be fair, there are some pieces on this tank I can't get out, and I'll tell you why in a second. I'm also going to reference a video that I want you guys to watch when you're done with this one. But for now, we're going to keep both tanks with the cap. All the hardware is installed in the radiator shroud holes, so we're trying to get these as like for like as possible. However, this seat button here, this is the little grip that holds down the front of the seat. This thing is seized into the tank. I couldn't get it out in the last video. And on that note, it actually would not be a bad idea. I should have done it to show you guys. I should have lubed these bolts up with grease or some anti-seize. They're dissimilar metals. You have a steel with a zinc coating going into a brass fitting, and that's why these things tend to seize over time. They start to corrode, and then the brass inserts, sometimes when you try to get these out, they just spin. So I should have shown you guys that, some anti-seize. But the reason I want you to watch the other video is because it's going to show you some specifics about this tank, things that the Honda uses that are similar, but also different sizes. So there are a couple things, if you swap your parts over from this tank, your stock tank, to a Honda tank, that won't fit. That's going to require you to get a few more pieces. And also that video just shows you guys how to take your tank out, how to put it back in if it's new to you and you haven't done it yet. So a really good resource for the removal and reinstall, as well as all the other little parts you're going to need if you are switching to the Honda tank. Like I said, some of the hardware are different sizes. So real quick, let's go ahead and measure these. We have, let's see, 5 pounds, 9.4 ounces. And this guy here, we have, oh, let it reset. 3 pounds, 7.6 ounces. So like I said, there was going to be a weight gain. This is a couple extra pounds. Now, if you pair this sucker with one of our Electron mods, which is another MX Revival exclusive, these things absolutely sip fuel. You pair that with a big tank, you guys are, you're not coming back to camp for gas. You better pack some snacks. So let's go ahead and get this sucker bolted in, connected to the carburetor, get some fuel through it, and then we're going to do our official test. As you guys can also see, our brand new DecalWorks graphics kit with the full 2016 Honda conversion plastics came out absolutely amazing. This bike is getting cooler and cooler all the time. This sucker is just a direct drop-in. And don't worry guys, everything I've mentioned, the video I want you to watch, DecalWorks graphics, the Electron, block off plate, all of it is going to be in the description below for you. Right now I want to check the clearance on everything. Oh man, that came out so good. Came out so freaking good. The plate looks great in there. Nothing is being contacted. Fuel petcock's in about the exact same place. I'm gonna need a hose. It's about 1 inch longer. So we did move the fuel petcock in. I'm figuring that out now. Go ahead and swap in a new piece of line. Connect that up there. All good, no problem. That actually tucks the fuel line further into the bike too, which is great. We're gonna go ahead and throw our shrouds and seat back on real quick. Then we're gonna fill this thing up with gas, inspect for leaks. Getting pretty close to firing this bad boy up. Man, this bike is looking so cool, guys. This is the first time I've seen it with our brand new DecalWorks kit paired on this tank. That's another video I'd like you guys to check out when you have time. Get you guys dialed in with absolutely sick graphics for your SR250, 300, 450. We actually had DecalWorks pre-install these for us, so these came bubble-free, perfect. It's really hard to do that on these dual exhaust plates too. I'm glad I wasn't the one to do it. This bike is just getting cooler and cooler. I can't believe how much content we've created together on this thing, and that looks awesome with the big boy tank in there. It's time to throw some gas in this thing and see what happens. Bust the cap off. Get a little bit of that ethanol free in this bad girl. Moment of truth, guys. Will it leak? I don't think so. Gobbled the rest of that stuff up. All right, we got the big girl back up in the air. Let's see if we can see anything leaking in here. Not very likely. Everything looks good. Nothing wet. No leaks on my hands. I can reach all the way to the other side of this block off plate. That is looking good. So that said, it's time to fill the bowl. There it is. You know what happens next. All right guys, let's fire this thing up. Uh-oh, no power. That's not good. Dead battery. It's been sitting for quite a while. Unfortunately, I don't have my jump pack, so we're gonna have to like hook it up to my truck. You know, it happens sometimes. Not the end of the world. So yeah guys, your truck and your bike are both 12 volts, so you can do this if you have to. If you're wondering why I'm not using my Kickstarter, it's been deleted. I hate it. Easy peasy. Well guys, bike is running. We have an oversized tank that didn't used to exist. We have a block off plate that didn't used to exist. Now it's time for the true test. We're gonna get the seat bolted back onto this thing. We're gonna do some adventure riding up and down the street. Wish I could take it out on a trail for you right now. Soon enough. Guys, the bike has a Honda fuel injected tank on it and it's running. This is a big deal. Time for a test ride. Always wear your helmet. Don't be a dumbass. Here goes nothing. That's Electron, by the way. dry in there. Bone dry. Bone freaking dry. So awesome. And I recharged my battery. Good stuff. Guys, there it is. SR300, oversized tank mod, Honda EFI tank. This kicks ass. We did it, guys. Super pumped. Super pumped. It looks awesome. Guys, how freaking awesome is that? Parts that never used to exist, brought into the world, just tested them out for the very first time ever. I don't ever test stuff without you guys for the first time. I let the bike run outside for about 15 more minutes. I did a little bit more urban moto. I'm not trying to get evicted today, but everything looks great. There's no leaks, there's no fuel coming out. Everything is functioning properly. My battery's charged, that's really great. But yeah, how awesome is this? Brand new parts. I love it. This is the kind of stuff I live for. So first off, I want to say thank you very much to everybody who helped me out. Matt, Tom, JR at SSR, and especially you guys for supporting the channel. If it weren't for you, I'd be doing this for no real reason. So having said all that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. It was super fun to do. It took a couple months to get all this stuff cooked up to a point where we could do this test together today. Now I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with this old turd. So guys, thank you for watching. Thanks again for letting me be your SSR Motorsports resource. If you have any questions that I didn't answer, which is always possible, you can go ahead and drop them in the comments below. If you're looking for plastics, graphics, tires, electron mod, a new block off plate for your SR300, or anything else for your 250 or 450, you guys can reach me on the website, mxrevival.com, by checking out the mods page or using the contact link to get a hold of me. Those go directly into my email inbox. And if you'd like to see more SSR Motorsports content, every mod we've done so far, every video I've ever filmed on this bad boy, you can go ahead and check out this playlist right here. We've got everything from the day I brought this bike home all the way up until today's mod. There are more coming in the future as well. So with that said, guys, thank you again for watching. Shred safe, and I will see you soon.